just a moment up here at the top of the mast while it's just you and me. I just wanted to say to the technical team of MS Amlin, a huge thank you. It's thanks to you that we're here. Tomorrow we get to do the race. Thank you for all of the kind attention and the details and the love that you've shown this boat. I'll try and do you proud. The race itself is quite significant. 45,000 kilometers, 30,000 miles, 85 days. My ability to sail the boat is directly defined by the work that's been done with the team in the preceding years. And as a skipper, you can either honor that work by extracting as much performance out of yourself and out of the boat as you can, or you can flub it and let the team down, and that's certainly pressure on your shoulders. The quiet will be hearing the words "top départ," which means go, and then a few seconds later, bon départ, which means that nobody is over the line early. I have to be alone on the boat 4 minutes before the start goes, and in the 10 minutes before the 4 minutes, I made the call that I wanted to use a different sail than the one that was hoisted, and so we were going to hoist the big Jenica as well as maintaining the code 0, which was already in place.
No, man.
I don't know the genesis of the problem, but the sheet was let loose over the side, and then because the boat was under power, it got sucked in. Then that stalled the engine, wrapped the spinnaker sheet, or the Jenica sheet tight. So we both stopped the maneuver and stopped the boat and could no longer start the race because the boat was in its compromised position. I was pretty pissed. And that's because it felt like all of our challenges had finally sort of come home to roost, and I was paying for those deficiencies on the start line. That was pretty brutal. And I, for a brief moment of weakness, forecasted, oh shit, is it gonna be like this all the way? And then it was action.
3, 2, stop, départ, Vendée Globe 2024.
After a bit of a back and forth with the race direction, I was given the clear instruction that I should not try and start the race. But I had to deviate to a different location and take a 1-hour penalty, and that would allow me to restart the race in the clear with no other penalties over me. It was a bit of a spicy moment, and yet it's not sustainable to stay fired up all the time, particularly when going solo. So it was important for me to help the team help me by get the boat in the configuration that I wanted it, and then get it pointing in the right direction, and then I could relax, have a bit of a joke with the boys, have something to drink and eat, and then focus on the restart. Figuring out where the line was, plotting it into the computer, again doing the start procedure so that I could line up at the good time and get across the line. And then it was kind of anticlimactic because I went across the line.
C'est extrême le Vendée Globe ou pas? C'est extrême le Vendée Globe? Super extrême. Like on the edge.
And then no wind. The boat just sitting there flapping, the sails not propelling the boat at all. Remarkably, the wind filled in. I was able to start the boat going along under code 0, and then as the wind filled in, it gave a really nice angle for the next sail. And then it's just about running the machine. You know, I know how to do all these maneuvers. It's up to me to do the job. Let's go. And the cherry on the cake was the fact that part of that let's go was let's go to the start of the fleet. And it just encapsulated in this in this incredible emotional and physical roller coaster of what is the Vendée Globe. It can be the most crushing defeat and when you're depressed, and yet the most joyous moment of accomplishment, separated by nothing.
Incroyable. Incroyable.
Merci bien! Despite a truly disastrous start, it looks like this is working out for me. So, remember, this is not just the start of one day in Conrad's life, in my life. This is day one of the Vendée Globe! There we go! Yeah, the first big split was challenging because obviously it's the start of the race, you don't want to tank the whole thing on day 3. And yet you have to be open to inspiration and ready to take a chance to make the race go your way on day 3 and not just be a sheep. So I did have a spinnaker, and that gave me this really powerful option to really play the card of sailing VNG. And so I felt pretty confident with my sail choice and my ability to control the power that I had.
We're up here in Madeira at the moment, and these dotted lines here, those are the routings, and of course these are the boats on the fleet. And what's tricky is that there's one route that goes down here through the Canaries and then down the African coast, and the other one sort of skives off way out into the middle of the Atlantic. Now what's tricky about this is that there are two primary families of weather models. There's the GFS, or the Global Forecasting System, there's the American one, and there's the European one, which is the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, or the ECMWF. But what's really obnoxious is that the GFS and the EC, the European one, are swapping, alternating as to which time they think the African coast is good, and then which time the offshore one is. So either way, it's going to be a challenge, and I just need to figure out which challenge to sign up for.
I think ultimately it was a bit of a mistake to go underneath Madeira and split completely from the fleet at that point. But for me, I hadn't considered the option of doing what Jean did, which was to go above Madeira and then split and go down the African coast. Because there's the overall strategy of what you're doing with the weather, and there's the tactics of what you're doing in the fleet. One of the reasons, at least initially, that drove me to split from the fleet was a lack of confidence. And I think that if I had had more time to practice, more time to validate the sail crossovers and the speed that I had with the sails, and indeed more time to train mano a mano against the other boats in the lead up to the race, then I probably would have stayed in the fleet, because then I would have had more confidence about my relative strengths relative to everybody else. Whereas certainly in retrospect, maybe that was a little bit too risky early on. The navigation and strategy side is something that I love the most, and when I do sail fully crewed, I sail as the navigator, and so I'm kind of used to number crunching and taking the weight of responsibility of these decisions, squarely on my shoulders. And yet, it's very, very difficult, particularly when you split from the fleet, particularly when you're looking at going on the attack.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie, it's a challenge today. I was forecasted to have this massive slowdown, but it's painful. It's really painful. Just trying to keep the boat moving in some kind of direction that's slightly positive. So, should get better, because it can't get worse. Got some grapefruit skins here, so let's see if I am actually moving. Ah, this looks encouraging.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Shower time! Woo-hoo! And just like that, it's over. Woohoo! And so, as tradition befits, well, it's a drink for me. That is tasty. A little drink for the boat. Enjoy that. And of course, a drink for Neptune. I had a daily and a weekly checklist that I had created for myself, and I needed to frequently go around the boat and check both inside and outside. And I'm pretty rigorous about checking the boat in depth. And so the notion of going, oh well, I'm going into the Southern Ocean, I've got to get prepared, is kind of a moot point, because I'm always looking after the boat and trying to make it as ready as possible. For me, one of the most crucial moments happened in the South Atlantic. That was a beautiful sunny day, and all the solar panels were sending the watts, and I was overjoyed because it felt like I was validating my renewable energy commitment. This is Vendée sailing! Super easy, the boat was taking care of itself, the sun was shining, the batteries were approaching 100%. And I had sort of 20 knots of wind speed. I had positioned myself south of the fleet, and so was in a really great position, and felt like I had overcome the challenges of the North Atlantic, reconnected with the fleet, and then was in a position to attack. And I had the mentality of, okay, here we go. And then the lights went out.
Merde, journée bien merdique.
The boat completely shut down.
Blackout total, donc pas de pilote, pas de communication, pas de rien, zéro.
And so the boat starts careening wildly, and the boat is fully powered up with full main J3 stay sail, 360 square meters of spinnaker, dragging you through the South Atlantic. And so I managed to, while steering with the tiller, and then snuff the spinnaker, I had to balance the boat and then run forward, disconnect one of the lines that was holding the spinnaker sock up before the helm went too far to one side and the boat spun out. And so book it from the front of the boat to the back, catch the helm again, put it between your legs, engage with the coffee grinder, and then pull down the sock on the spinnaker. Okay, power goes away, roll out the J3, release the helm, round the boat up, head to wind, stop the boat, and then pressure comes off. You've overcome what could have been an awful jibe with the boat completely on the wrong side and drama and broken sails and all that. So I had avoided the worst, but then the pressure comes back on again, because then you've got a boat that's completely blacked out. You're missing the race because everybody else is charging along in perfect conditions. And I was sitting there in the South Atlantic 3 weeks into the race going, you know, is this where it ends? And I really thought that maybe I would have had to abandon the race. And so I managed to get the communication system up and running, got in contact with the electricians that had worked on the boat, and we went through every circuit on the boat, every system, and found several circuits that had blown their fuses for reasons that we don't yet understand. And potentially one of the pilots is damaged as well. So I only have two, so that's a little spicy. And it seems like a solar panel charge controller had not sufficiently insulated the boat from all of the power that was coming from the solar panels. And so it had created this overcharge situation that had just fried crucial components of the boat and definitively cooked them. It was not just fuses, it was actually the whole system was in short circuit. That for me was the absolute turning point of my race, and it happened really early on. And in no uncertain terms, I had to pull apart the various computers on board the boats that control the functions. And so the satellite computer, the keel computer, the autopilot computer, find the defective diode on a printed circuit board, and then individually cut out separate components while the boat is, you know, charging up and down and bouncing over the waves. And then, you know, gently reassemble these circuit boards and make them sort of line up and get these tiny little hair thin cables to line up in a good way. And then put it all back together and then put the fuse in. Okay, the fuse doesn't blow, give it the power. Okay, it comes back to life and you've got the LED that, okay, you've got the reconnection again. And it's like having these tiny little victories, system by system by system, as you're trying to get it back.
Yes! Woohoo!
But that was basically 3 days of hard work trying to get the boat back, and during that time I didn't have confidence in the boat to give it the full whack, and so I was sailing with slightly smaller sails, losing miles on the fleet, and head down in the bilges, reconnecting wires rather than going full send in the South Atlantic. And that really defined my relationship with the race and with the fleet, because I had lost a couple of 100 miles relative to the rest of the Daggerboard fleet. And then that meant that when we got into the South Atlantic and we had the first big system blow over us, that tiny little difference that I had with the fleet initially ballooned, because they then stayed with the front for longer, whereas I dropped off earlier. And then that small gap went from 100 miles to 200 miles to 500 miles, and then to Jean Le Cam, 1,000 miles. And I should have been, and I could have been, right up there at the front, instead of chasing along the way.
It has been like this, worse than this all night. 35 knots gusting 40. And then we've just been doing these crazy surfs. The size of that wave rearing up. I know it looks small on camera, but it's huge. Look at that thing. Been averaging more than 19 knots and hitting speeds of 29 and change. 23, 24, 17. So it's this constant acceleration and deceleration.
You'd not do a mast climb at all?
Never. Well, I climbed halfway up to go and get my lazy jacks.
Today I have to do something that I have been putting off because it scares me.
That was early on in the race.
I have to climb. Yeah.
No, I refused to climb it unless I absolutely had to. Yeah.
Thankfully not too far, but still, anytime my feet leave the deck, it's not a good day.
No, I was being stubborn.
Got it. This is the lazy jacks that I came for. Man, this is seriously uncomfortable job. Okay. Whoop. Okay, got it. Orange rope, gotcha. Okay, it's very uncomfortable, but the view is cool. Okay, coming down.
The thing that scares me about this race is having to climb the mast. The mast is 27 meters high, and even the smallest movement down at the bottom is massively amplified up there. And so it's incredible physical and also emotional effort to have my feet leave the deck, particularly because my father was actually killed in an accident falling from the mast. And so I have a great deal of respect for personal safety on board the boat. Every day I feel like I look death in the face, because I know that if I fall overboard I die. But certainly climbing the mast is that fear turned out to 11.
Thank you. My God, that's uncomfortable. That is unpleasant. So why did I have to climb up there? Well, it's because the lazy bag, this here, that covers the mainsail, got destroyed in the last storm. The stitching on the webbing here failed, and I let this bit go up to the sky. So now that I've got this this lazy jack back, well, I need to do some hand stitching to fix the bag, to then attach it, to then put the lazy bag back in action. So, wish me luck for the rest. But at least the worst is done.
I was backing myself, and I was fully committed to the chase. And again, there was that dynamic that after the South Atlantic and after I lost those initial miles, then I was in chase mode, and I no longer had the opportunity to be conservative in my routing. I was always looking for an opportunity to attack, to reconnect, and that put me in stronger breeze pretty much all the time. It's brutal. The Indian Ocean this time around was just something that was consistent through all of the skippers' communication was just getting our socks blown off by the Indian, and the frequency of the systems coming through. That normally you have a ridge or of high pressure coming down, or indeed a big cell of high pressure separating the systems, and so you get thrashed for a couple of days, and you get to breathe a little bit, and you sort of air out the boat and dry off your socks and go again. And this time it was just relentless, and there was essentially no break in between them. I don't know if that's climate change or not, but certainly it's very, very different from what everybody has seen before.
So yesterday, I made a terrible mistake. That was my big Jenica off the side of the boat, completely in the water, when the boat was doing 20 knots in wind speed of 35 knots. It was just a huge mess.
I'm not new at this, but I was astonished by the power of the spray and waves on board the boat. I've previously been washed off my feet just with the spray on board the boat, and it's incredibly powerful and incredibly dangerous. And yet I thought that just for a couple of hours before a front came through and I had to jibe over, that I could leave a sail on the leeward side, and I think I was clearly a bit tired. I was looking to economize a little bit of energy, and I ended up losing not this much, but this much.
And so when I heard a banging noise, I went out to investigate. My heart sank. I thought that it was going to be impossible to get this back on board the boat.
And it did damage as it went. It took out the lifelines, it took out the tow rail, it damaged the boat. And it was only an extra security line that I'd put around the sail that held it on board the boat. I had 28 meters of sail folded in half, trailing in the wake behind me.
I slowed the boat down, I got ropes around the sail, I started dragging it on board with winches, and then little by little managed to get all of this back on board the boat. So that was an insane effort. Of course I was doing this while the front came through, and so it was blowing 35 to 40 knots with driving rain. I couldn't see what I was doing. I was underwater half of the time.
And I couldn't make my jibe because the boat was not maneuverable. So yeah, that was really humbling because you're presented by the power of the ocean and the speed of the boat, and you're just powerless in front of that.
Can I show you some good news for once? Look at this! It's the big Jenica, it's back. This is the sail that yesterday was dragging in the water right down here at my feet. Wow, what a beautiful day! Look at this! Sun!
Hello, Albatross.
Look at my friend down there. He's over there.
It's nice to have company down here.
Got a very, very small hole in the main, but that's easily fixed. Rip on the J3, again easily fixed, although that's really the sail that I want to be sailing with at the moment. It's still blowing 35 knots. And then I've got a knot with my backstays. So unfortunately, these are just lots of little things, because lots of new things came onto the boat at the very last moment, and we had very little testing time. That's okay. We're here in the Indian Ocean, cruising along, more or less in good shape, and I have the skills and the materials to fix these things, so I will. Nice view up here. So, there we go. It is still full speed on board MS Amlin. I know it's in the northern hemisphere it's winter, and in the southern hemisphere where we are now it is supposedly summer. But right now I've got a lot of vibes of spring here. And so it's nice to have this feeling where maybe for few hours or days, you're not going to get smacked in the head again. You can see my black eye. That's not just a metaphor.
Look at that, it's a fishing boat. Look at that. Good Lord, what's going on? There's nobody around me. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and there's stuff in the water.
The thing is officially rooted. This van car has lost all of its balls now, and so there's no hope of it working. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lash these pulleys here using these soft shackles. I had 2 of them and I just made up a new one. So let's go try that as an option and see if it works. There we have it. A Vang! It works! Haha! I can control the mainsail again. The front is past. I saw 48 knots. That's probably what broke the Vang actually. But for now, it's going to work tonight, and it means I can get some sleep.
I think that our concept of normality is completely twisted, and that if you were to put almost any normal human being in our shoes for 24 hours, they would be completely horrified. And yet for us, it's just another day in the office.
And a nice day is frankly very, very welcome, because after the last 2 frontal systems that rolled through us, it was pretty spicy on board. That plus the blackout, I hurt myself. I don't know if I've said it before, but my knee is really hurting since the blackout. Gave myself a pressure injury, and I'm in constant pain, and I have reduced mobility since then, so it's a week now. I am talking with the doctors, but there's little that they can do for me. So, yeah, a couple of days of lighter winds is going to be amazing.
It's 25 knots of wind, so it's been slowly reducing, and I wanted to do a little tour before I send some more sail up. So I'm about to shake out Reef 2. Okay, gotta go. Back, go back. Come on, there you go. No, down. Come on.
So approaching New Zealand, we did finally get a break, that there was a big shutdown and a big cell of high pressure. That was a big barrier for the fleet, and it coincided with a sort of cliff in the ice exclusion zone, and so that opened up the whole opportunity of diving way south.
Which looks like it's going to be guaranteed to shut off. No wind down there, so maybe there's more wind up north. That's what it looks like, so that's where I'm going.
The majority of the Daggerboard fleet went way south to try and get around it and to stay with following breeze. Because I was in chase mode and because I was willing to do something different, I saw that there was actually a strong system in the Tasman Sea in between New Zealand and Australia.
Crazy, really high depression, pretty strong, primarily southerly winds. That allows me to reach towards the east, and over the past couple of hours I have gone more east than Violette, than Tanguy, than Benjamin Ferry, and I really hope that it works this time.
It's not good. See that blue sky? Well, for once, I'm not happy to see that. I was meant to stay with wind a little bit south of west, and the wind is now north of west and lighter than anticipated with this new clear sky. When I came up here, it looked like I was going to be able to pass ahead of the group to the south, but yesterday it was pretty clear in the routing and in the weather that was not going to happen, and today well, with the shift coming 9 hours earlier than it was meant to, well, that's really not helping.
Even though I slotted into the fleet in the same position, I was closer. And that's what ultimately allowed me later on in the Pacific to really reconnect and then finally overtake the other competitors.
Merry Christmas, everybody, from MS Amlin. Christmas on board in the South Pacific. You know, it's a little bit strange to be out here by myself because Christmas is all about getting together, and typically in New Zealand that means going to the beach, having a barbecue, playing with friends. And so I brought a little good luck charm with me from New Zealand. Jandals! We're in Jandals in the South Pacific. Look at that. I'm not at the beach with my friends and family, but I'm pretending like I am. In any case, I am wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas with friends and family. Oh, bouncy, bouncy.
I, for the second year running, had my birthday at sea by myself. I missed my daughter's birthday, and then I missed Christmas, and you know, the big dates started to accumulate. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it certainly weighs on you.
Back in the pack and back in the fight. This is really cool. And as things might be heating up in the competition, things are cooling down because diving down into the south means that we're now pretty frisky. It's cold. Gil made a prototype garment for me for this race. I've got a little battery pack in here, and then I can, with this switch, I can dial in extra heat. And so I've got warming elements in my jacket. But let me show you how I get ready for bed. So I have a warm hat, obviously, and then I take my boots off. Gotta make sure they stand up so they don't fall over and get water in them. And then I can get into my bed. So I put those on my feet. Those are fantastic. One on one side, obviously one on the other. And while they might look completely absurd and ridiculous, they are the secret to good sleep. I pull on this rope here, and that raises this little barrier here to keep me nice and safe and inside the bed. And yes, it is absolutely brutal. And down in the south, I give myself an hour to sleep at a time if the conditions are stable. So it's longer than in the Atlantic because there's nobody down here, and if the wind is stable, then why not? Oh my god. Iceberg!
No, the icebergs were really quite special, and I say that because they were especially terrifying.
Holy shit! I'm shivering, and not only because of the cold, but because right over there, that's what I've been looking for. Oh my god. It's a freaking massive iceberg. Wow, it feels massive when you know that if you hit anything out here, it's game over.
The race commissions this service to keep us away from most of the danger, and that's what informs the placement of the Antarctic exclusion zone. For trying to be as equitable as possible, once the leaders have gone through a certain area, the race direction doesn't move the line even if the situation on the ground or on the water changes. Instead, how they manage that is that they will give you the isolated positions of the icebergs with an estimation of the way that they are drifting. When the race direction sent us these positions and then the estimates on their drift, then we were pretty engaged in self-preservation.
Whoa. And certainly captures your attention, that's for sure.
I was surrounded by breaking waves and sort of white foaminess, and then finally I saw this big white foamy thing. I was like, oh wow, waves are really breaking over there. I was like, oh, it's not just waves. and yeah, it's breathtaking. Oh, there we go. There's the sea monster, and knowing full well the consequences of something going wrong.
All right, well, I think that's gonna haunt my dreams for the next week. That is Big and scary. Okay, well, I slowed the boat down so that I could have a look at this and make sure that there were no bogey bits around. But now I'm going to sheet on and get the hell out of here. $1,391. That's how many miles remain to Cape Horn this morning. It is beautiful, but oh my lord, it is cold. Tough to rest, tough to recover, and 3 days to go before the Horn, and I will be excited to see it because it's time to get out of here. I'd like to feel my feet, I'd like to feel my fingers, and I'd like to start heading north.
Now that is something a lot cooler to see on the horizon than an iceberg. It's Louis Duke!
Now I've been chasing him down all day. He started off, when I saw him on the AIS, 16 miles ahead of me. Louis, pour Conrad, tu me reçois?
Yes, Conrad, comment tu fais?
Hey, salut, comment ça va?
Putain, je sors de la valette, mais comme je suis en mode compas, je suis à moitié arrêté. Ah, c'est le bordel.
J'ai passé beaucoup de temps tout seul, mais vraiment tout seul. Et du coup, je suis bien content d'être parmi vous à nouveau.
On the approach to Cape Horn was finally when I got to race properly against the other boats. I felt like that was my moment to shine, and we had configured the boat so that it would work really well with the smaller sails. My small sails were still slightly bigger than their small sails. I felt like that was my happy place. I was finally doing what I had come to do and be where I needed to be. And it was made even better by the fact that I was taking miles out of everybody, and that's what feels good.
It's snowing and it's sticking. It's too bad that I'm out here by myself, because there's nobody to throw this at. That's cold. So it's a little bit wet and wild, but that befits the circumstances because we are on final approach to the Cape Horn. It's less than 600 miles to go.
Check this out. These are the ends of the Andes. And this one here is Cape Horn. Haha! Almost made it. Almost made it. But look at this! Look at this!
There's no wind! Oh yeah, bottom of the world. Most ferocious, dangerous place to go sailing ever. Look at this.
Of all of my passages of Cape Horn, this was in many ways the most memorable, just because of the fact that it was completely incongruous with the mythology of the place. That Cape Horn is known for taking sailors' hearts and ripping it out and stamping on it and shredding the boats and shredding sails and hopes, and yet we were there and we were totally becalmed. And again, the weather forecast, the models showed that I would have a little bit of wind and I could pass it and go ciao as I went by, but I got completely becalmed in front of the rock.
Longitude of Cape Horn! Woohoo! And there she is, the big rock herself. So there we go, my fourth and my most beautiful rounding of Cape Horn. About 3 miles away. This is just magic. And sorry, how do you celebrate? Well, with champagne. And I was going to have this for New Year's, but I am not in control of whether the sun comes up or not. But I am in control of whether we got us to Cape Horn. So, here we go. A little bit for the boat, for Neptune of course, for Cape Horn, and for the plucky sailor. Oh, that tastes incredible. Primarily because I've been waiting for so long. and this is just spectacular. Getting here is really, really, really special. And sure, you know, it would be nice to have a little bit more wind, but being here and actually having the opportunity to savor it, to see the mountain on the island behind me, that is special. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. And crucially, now I need to go really, really, really fast. There is no wind. Not easy or fun.
So in terms of the race, from the Horn to the Falklands and beyond was absolutely crucial. That after putting in a big performance across the Pacific and stretching out from my competitors, they caught me again at that zone in the light winds. And I saw, looking further ahead, that I had a very small window of opportunity to make another break. And I could only do that by pushing hard in the strong conditions again, as I had just done.
Oh, look at that! A rainbow! That's nice. Let's see how this front plays out. I could not have dreamed about a better way to get past the Falklands. We are on the express train. There is no stopping. It is full speed, full noise, and the sea is just... I don't know what happens, but I don't know if I insulted its mother or something, but it is angry. It is foaming and wild, and the breaking and the spray is getting whipped up off the tops of the waves, and man, it's cool.
That's actually the challenge of going back up the South Atlantic, is that the breeze stereotypically is typically quite on the nose initially, and then as you start heading up, you go less upwinds and more onto a reach, and then from a reach onto a broad reach, and then you're into the doldrums. And so that rotation in the wind is going to favor the boats that are just ahead, because they're getting a more favorable angle and a slightly more stable breeze, and it's the standard case of the rich getting richer, you know, that everything gets easier for the guys that are ahead. And so it's a really, really tough place to be chasing.
So last time you saw me hiding under this Perspex bubble, I was cruising along in the middle of a depression, and now, well, things have changed a bit. I'm going around an anticyclone. So I've got my Kevlar scissors here, so that could be dangerous, but it's time to make the beard go away. This would have been easier with a set of clippers, but I didn't think about that. So what do you think? No mirror, but I don't think I missed any spots. But this is exciting. So, new ocean, new me. I'm feeling refreshed. Got this pot of warm water, hot water, and hot. And that's a big step up from how I have been showering and doing hygiene on board, which is using these sort of special wilderness or camping wipes. And those are basically sort of grown up. There you go, my scissors. Oh, we're heading over, lads. Oh, are we going to wipe out? Yes, we are. Okay, that's exciting. I'll be back. Okay, excuse me. I currently have the big Jenica, the J3 staysail, and the full main up, and so I have every stitch of sail that I can find to put up in these conditions. And now, as the carrots in front of me are, of course, Tanguy Le Toquet, and Benjamin Ferry. It's going to be a tough battle with them as we go up towards Brazil. This South Atlantic passage has been quite challenging for the fleet, but actually not so challenging for me, and so I've caught up a lot. Jean Le Cam is just out there, and actually we're at the same latitude, so he used to be 1,200 miles ahead, and now we're at the same latitude, and so that's quite exciting. Oh, there we go. It's pretty mild, but that's what a wipeout looks like. Okay. So there we go, eased everything off. Big twist in the main. That'll allow the boat to bear away, and now I need to sheet on and power up again. I guess I'm getting a little bit bored out of here. So it's pretty cool. The solar panels are kicking out the watts. Still, I don't know how many days we are into this race now. Obviously 60 something, but I don't know, 68 days or something. Still have not turned on the engine. So full solar, full hydro, although really just full solar. That's doing the job here.
I think it's our responsibility to go there with the lightest footprint possible. And so that for me is why I'm fully engaged in this zero emissions ambition. The only thing that I want to have in my wake when I'm down there is bubbles. I think doing otherwise is irresponsible. We don't follow a trail, we make our own. And that our passage is so temporary and transient because it is just bubbles, and we leave that behind, and then the sea has no memory of the fact that we've been there. And I think that's really cool.
So this might seem like a strange place to find me in the middle of the Atlantic. I wanted to benefit from the super calm conditions to come and do a check of the keel, of the rudders, to make sure that there was no damage at the bottom of the hull. Frankly, it's just so hot at the moment. I wanted to come and cool down. Feels good to be back on board. Got excited in there. We went 1 knot. Ça va être tout noir. No, it's not going to be dark because it's the day, but it's pretty dark and menacing clouds over there. It's actually quite incredible. We're still a long way, 200 miles south of the equator, and we are entering into doldrums conditions. I just heard thunder over my shoulder. So these storms are serious. They mean business. The hydro generator is in the water, and that's to charge the batteries when there's no full sun. Up until now, the solar panels have been doing an incredible job, and all just in this sort of passive income mode of just energy that just cruises into the boat. I don't have to think about it. Boom! Northern Hemisphere. Yep, there's the big black line. Oh, quick, let's go see if we can see it. Ah, Where is it? Every time I miss the black line. I've never seen the equator. Oh man. A little bit of activity, but so far so good for this whole doldrums crossing. In the meantime, I'm making some coffee, and for that we need the good stuff. In the middle of nowhere, I've still got, well, it's not really freshly roasted anymore, but at least proper coffee, none of this instant stuff. So finally, I get to sit down, enjoy my coffee, and look at the Northern Hemisphere. In front, behind, in front, behind. Now if you look closely, you'll see there's something up in the sky behind me that there's not in front of me. That's clouds. Clouds, my friend. In front of me there are no clouds. That means I'm entering the zone of blue. If you look at the weather forecast, the zone of blue is this bit, and that's scary. That's right, the last great obstacle that remains before hooking into the last depression that's going to take me all the way back to Les Abdelon is this zone of high pressure. So typically known as the Azores High. And so if we zoom out, this is where we are now. This is the bubble of high pressure. These are the Azores. So basically the next couple of days is going to be cruising around this way through the light winds.
Yeah, hope springs eternal, eh? It was the final opportunity for me to really make a move on the Dagobord fleet. And I had been in third place in behind Benjamin and Tanguy. And I had been chasing them since the South Atlantic. I kind of feel like I flew a little bit too close to the sun, and it was my only chance that I had, so I had to try and cut the corner. And briefly skyrocketed through the rankings, received this sort of deluge of congratulations and oh wow, this is amazing. I'm sort of sitting there going, this is a pretty temporary situation right here. You know, it's going to work or it's not, and it didn't quite work. You know, it looks like I got a little bit too close to the center of the high. The wind shut off, and the other guys were able to escape around to the north and hook into the new breeze before I did. And so when you don't have breeze, there's not that much you can do. You know, you can only go so fast and use the tools that you have available to you. If the conditions are not with you, then it's not worth beating yourself up about it. You know, you take your chances, you try your luck, and you take what the wind gods give you. I know this probably won't show up on camera, but stars out here are just amazing. Time to get a little bit of sleep. Best part of the day. It's not for long, but man, it feels good. Jean kind of did what I did to the other guys and cut the corner even more, and still managed to slip in and close the gap on me even more. And that really brought into clear evidence the difference between our two boats. You know, he's got a much newer boat that was better able to exploit the power of the sails that he had, and I wasn't able to stretch out on him. So again, that last sort of opportunity to take the fight to a more experienced, faster, better prepared competitor sort of went up in smoke as well.
We're fully launched in this last depression. About 150 miles to go before the Azores exclusion zone. And excitingly, 1,500 miles to go to that finish. Wow, it's hard to stay sitting. halfway between the Azores and Portugal, and 700 miles to go until Les Sables. And if you followed my race last time in 2016, you'll know that this is quite a special place, because 8 years ago in the same spot that guy fell down and I was dismasted and I thought that my race was over. And so after 110 days of sailing, some with a mast, 10 days without, I made it back to Les Sables across the finish line to be classified as somebody finishing in the race, and became the first person to ever finish the race without a mast completely, and of course the first person to finish without burning any fossil fuels. So to be again 800 miles to the finish, 2.5 days, or 2 sleeps, as we say to my kids, to have that beautiful mast, to have this great boat still in great shape at its full potential, is a realization of this epic comeback. And to be truly on the final sprint home, it's really special. This feels good.
On the final run into the line, I made a pledge to myself that I was going to fight this to the finish. And that's all very well and good, but when you are completely becalmed, an oily, flat, calm sea with a beautiful sunny day, and yet you've got this sort of fire inside of you going, I'm gonna get him. It's sort of quite incongruous to have those two things happening at the same time. And so I was always chasing. The last miles of the Vendée Globe are normally pretty chilled out. No boats around, you can sort of sit and digest and think about everything that's happened and what you've achieved and what you would do differently, and it's often this quite sort of meditative process. You can sit there and start to sort of get the kinks out of your shoulders and be like, okay, here we go, I'm going to wave my arms around and when I get to the finish line. But this time was full focus, full race, no digestion of the race or anything at all, it was just full combat.
Ah, mais ça va être tellement proche d'aller. Ah.
On va voir l'arrivée de Jean comme ça.
And I was looking at the live data coming off the weather buoys and from the airport. It's like, okay, so there's going to be the shift when you get in there. Let's take a little bit of fat on the line so that as the wind shifts, you get headed down to the finish line. And you're like, okay, got this in the bag. And then you see the shift coming on Jean, and you're like, and it's just savage. Like he just bears away like 30, 40, 50 degrees. It looks like he's going to miss the line completely. And you're like, okay, I've got this. Okay, here we go. And then the shift starts coming in, and you're like, okay, it's bringing me down. I'm locked in on the finish line. If this is how it stays, I've got this in the bag.
Jean là à droite.
And then the shift keeps on coming and so you're like, oh, and so you're like trimming on, trying to go, trying to fight against it as much as you possibly can. And then I saw him tack across. Normally you have time to fall in love with the lights of Les Sables as they come up over the horizon. You're like, oh, here we go. And there I was, sort of looking for his light in amongst the lights of the city, and he crossed, half a mile in front of me. He beat me to the line. We made it. Never seen you later. Feels good, huh? Yeah, finally getting my arms around my wife, Clara, it feels really special. And because that is when the adventure is over. It's this moment of coming home, wherever she is in the world is home. And that's when the race stops. And yeah, it feels really special because it makes the whole thing concrete. It makes it true almost that you've finished the race and done the job. And that's when the clock stopped.
Okay.
Chips and salsa.
Flavor and texture. Things that I haven't had in a long time. Missed the podium by 500 meters after 84 days of sailing. Good Lord. I'll just have to come back, eh? Try again. Hello, my friend. Hi. How are you? Oh, I get both of you. That's exciting. No, you squashed me. Oh! But no, it's important that the family and team are there to fully soak in the good vibes and the incredible atmosphere that's created by the people that are there to welcome us. Merci. Merci bien. No, it feels amazing to have been by myself for so long, keeping this dream. You know, the late nights, the blood, the sweat, the tears that made this possible. And this is just the biggest gift to be able to do this race and to share it with everybody. It's really cool. It's really special. Ah, there we go. Good choice, huh?
To help understand how I'm feeling now, I need to draw the contrast with 2016.
Fucking awesome. And you come back with a big stick on the top.
I know, I know.
I really struggled after that race, in part because it was the end of a 10-year journey that had brought me to that finish line.
You ready? 1, 2, 3, put.
That I had committed myself to becoming one of the best ocean racers in the world. It was a big journey from me coming to France, learning French, learning how to ocean race, fighting my way up through the classes, finding the support and the sponsorship to get me into the race, refurbish the boat, get into the race, do the race, and overcome all of the technical challenges that I had during the course of the circumnavigation, dismast at the end, fight to the finish, build this beautiful jury rig. And so it was just all of this, you know, one thing after another, massive sort of breathless marathon. In some ways, I felt a lot of satisfaction of having completed this goal. I also sort of became quite depressed because I had this shining goal that was always just over the horizon that had been sort of animating my everyday existence. And I got to the end of it. And I achieved the goal. But I did so in such a way that left me empty. This time just feels like I'm making up for all of those disappointments. And I feel really appreciative of the community that I've built around me, the team that I brought to this project. The fact that I have such a great group of sponsors, headlined by MS Amlin.
Pas la force des vagues. Oh. Quelle course, hein? Les laisse.
A new appreciation for being kind to myself and for feeling good about the job that was done.
C'est pas juste une course autour du monde, c'est un sacré course qui court entre les deux oreilles. Et je suis presque plus heureux par rapport au travail et le voyage que j'en ai fait ici qu'autour du monde. Donc je me sens vraiment bien. Je suis détruit. Qu'est-ce que j'en ai fait ces derniers quelques mois? Je suis en morceaux là.
Just a lot of satisfaction about a job well done, and a real sort of pure excitement to see what we can do next time. Oh, hi. Thanks for coming along. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for your time.